England. Well, no, Mark, I'll come to you. You might laugh, but I know there are parts of England where they would definitely not consider this to be a homophobic slur. They would just do it.
It's a terrible thing to me. And by the way, like, you know, I hope he gets convicted too. How can I demean him? I know I'll call him gay because gay is so lower. Gay is so, like, you know, anti-masculine. Exactly. And that's the whole point. That was the word there's 1,000 other words she could have used to describe it.
But she says she's not homophobic and wasn't saying it as a gay slur.
All right, let me give you some context on what's going on here in this clip, and this is something that's worth watching because, as usual, we got Ashley Marc Lamont Hill, who is on the wrong side of everything because he is such an effeminate so-called man, but he's not a man. I don't know what he is, and he's going to play himself completely, and Andrew Wilson is going to demolish him. I think this will be the first time we'll see Andrew Wilson demolishing Marc Lamont Hill, and we will enjoy it. I was so excited to watch. I like any moment that Marc Lamont Hill gets destroyed by anybody, and Andrew Wilson should be able to destroy Marc Lamont Hill very well. And what happened was there was this girl in the UK who was attacked by a guy, and I guess the guy was homosexual, and she called him the F word that rhymes with maggot, and so I will say maggot now because I can't say the other word because they'll take this video down, so retarded. Damn, maybe they'll take it down for that word too. Anyway, so now because of that, she's getting in trouble. She actually got in trouble first before the guy. This is a bit much. And of course, Marc Lamont Hill sees nothing wrong with this. And this weird tool right here with the eraser head, I don't know what this look is. He's more upset that she called him what he is. Okay, let's get right into it.
Okay, but so what's that? You wouldn't say that people that use the N-word to describe people aren't racist? It's just their banter between their friends?
Well, no, because I think there is a qualitative difference in severity of these words. I mean,
so Mark, race is more important than sexuality.
Well, it's an interesting, arguable point. I mean, Mark, look, I would never use personally that F word. I would certainly never use the N word privately or in public. There probably is a qualitative difference between the two, I would say. Most people might think that. Certainly in England, I can imagine a lot of people using it, playgrounds and stuff, and not intending it to be a homophobic slur, not even knowing it is. So it's not as clear cut as you might think it is. But regardless, as Brendan said, you know, regardless of whether you think it is or isn't, the idea that you communicate that word in a private conversation to someone via text message who you know, and the next thing, 11 police officers are charging into your house to arrest you, that can't be right, surely.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So you raised 2 points. The first one, where I disagreed with you, wasn't whether or not people saw it as a homophobic slur. My point is something can be a homophobic slur or a racist slur or an anti-Semitic slur or whatever, even if a person doesn't realize that that's what they're doing. In the United States, I've spent a lot of time in locker rooms as an athlete. I spent a lot of times in fraternity houses. I spent a lot of time just in my neighborhood. And that word was used a lot. And it was often used not against gay people, although it certainly was used against gay people. It was also used against ostensibly straight people, as my colleague just said, for the purpose of demeaning, for joking. Sometimes it wasn't even an intense joke. Sometimes it wasn't outrage. It was just it was used ostensibly in a playful way. But the idea is, if the best way to mock you or to tease you or to make you seem less like a man in a society where being a man is the height of humanity is to call you gay,
but you'd never be arrested. Yeah, but hang on, you'd never be arrested in America for using that word, because the First Amendment would protect you. So you could be offensive in America in that way without actually treading into criminal activity, because the First Amendment is there to protect that very thing. Actually, it really protects all speech, including hate speech.
So that's the second piece of it, right? I just wanted to address the idea of whether it's homophobic speech or not. But even if it's hate speech, let's say it rises to the level of hate speech, regardless, I don't think that the surveillance state should be overseeing us to decide when and where we're making the hate speech, even though I deplore hate speech. And then I also don't think the carceral state should be criminalizing or intensifying criminal penalties for using it. So yeah, it's awful to do. You shouldn't do it. But I could be the worst piece of human garbage on earth for using a word or a slur. It doesn't mean that I should get arrested for it. I think there's other ways to resolve that.
Yeah, Andrew Wilson, you know, it was very interesting when Tucker jumped me with this.
Well, first, I'm actually shocked that Mark actually made a point that made any sense. and not even full sense because he had to first say all the other stuff that he was saying, first that it's such a bad word, it's a horrible word, this, that, and the third. But in fact, dude, calm down. It's just a word. One of my favorites to use, actually. A lot of people get called that by me. You're a maggot for a lot of reasons. Don't care. But I want to skip because Piers Morgan's going to give a long explanation about something. And so I'm going to skip that and get right into Andrew. By the way, guys, if you like the clip, please don't forget the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. Now let's get right into Andrew.
Quote, F slur, you go to jail, right? Some country you got there. By the way, let's point this out, that progressives have for years, as these guys say, hey, we don't want to, put in hate speech laws and have people arrested and this and that. They've been doing the same type of stuff for years. They do depersoning, debanking, deplatforming, keeping people away from their cash. If you touch on any issues that they don't like, they've been doing that for years to conservatives. So they're doing the exact same thing that the government over there is doing. They're just using the private marketplace to do it. So what they do is they will go on these massive campaigns to deperson a human being from society because they have wrongthink, or they say a word that it makes somebody else upsetty spaghetti, right? That's what they do. And the fact of the matter is like, who gives a shit? Who cares if this woman didn't care? Who cares if she was like, you know what, I am homophobic. And I said it because I'm homophobic. That's her business, right? You can say what you want. You're supposed to, at least in free nations. And that's not what you have there. And that was Tucker Carlson's point. You don't have a free nation there. You have a nation which is under
hang on,
out of interest, Andrew, would you use that word?
Sure, you use it all the time. It's one of the best ways to describe friends. Right?
Would you use it? Would you use it on a show like this? It's
not meant to be. Look, it's not meant to be. Can I say it?
Would you say it? I mean, would you normally use a word like that?
Well, I wouldn't say it for the purposes of TOS. But I mean, if I was allowed to, sure, it's one of my favorite words to say. There's nothing wrong with the word. What happens is this. This word is not even being used as a homophobic slur, and it hasn't since I was a kid, okay? That's the truth. People call each other this all the time for literally for fun, just because it's fun. You'll go, you like run into a buddy of yours. What's up, F slur? Right? You don't care, and you give each other a high five.
I don't think that's true.
Right?
Though.
It's fun. It is true. Look,
I think if you ask gay people, they will tell you it is often used in a derogatory way.
Okay, I don't care. So I just want to get the split screen going between Marc Lamont Hill and Andrew Wilson, because I'm not going to do this today. Andrew is right, okay? Everybody gets called that word. We don't care. Sometimes we use it in excitement and fun. Sometimes we use it when we want to make somebody feel bad about themselves. I don't care. Okay?
These are not as fun. And the reason is, the more that you try to make these pushbacks, these social pushbacks, and tell people what they can and can't say, it makes them want to say it more. And you know what, Mark? Like, that's what happens. The second you start making social pushback and say, hey, this word you've been calling your friends, and you guys have been joking around for years saying this stuff, you're not allowed to say it anymore because now somebody's going to get too upset about it. It literally gives them incentive to say it more. That's what happens. That's how social context actually works.
But that's not what I'm saying.
If you guys wouldn't make a big deal out of it, if you guys wouldn't make, hang on, Mark, almost done. If you guys wouldn't make a big deal out of it, we wouldn't have a big deal, right? But you guys make the big deal out of it.
All right. Let me bring in Brendan, because
so I'm not,
well, hang on, Mark. I'll come back to you. The bigger issue, it seems to me, here with the UK.
That is hilarious. Wait a minute. They never gave Mark a chance to explain himself. That is funny. Good. Okay, but then that's all we need then, right? Because Mark is such a tool. I don't care what he has to say. Like, I'm sure he uses, no, he doesn't. But let me tell you something. I don't know why it's so hard. Marc Lamont Hill clearly gets nervous when he's doing these debates. All he has to do is put a bottle of water next to him, or maybe like a teacup of water next to him, and then have some chapstick. You see Andrew Wilson, he gets himself comfortable, he smokes. If he could smoke on the debate, which I don't care, that's his business. He could do whatever he wants. Why can't Marc Lamont Hill just simply use some chapstick before, instead of keep licking his lips? It smells. Ugh, I can't. All right, y'all. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.